I genuinely think that everyone that does any form of physical activity can appreciate how influential the mental psyche is in determining how well you perform physically. You know, so um, although I do acknowledge that people know the importance of the mental capability, I feel like the degree at which we value your mental game really differentiates how well you perform. So what's different about athletes and normal people that play for leisure, right? It's how they appreciate their sport. It's how willing they are to dedicate themselves and the discipline they have in order to maximize their performance, right? Why do you think all these coaches and mentors are so significant to the progression of an athlete, right? It's because they're able to guide them physically as well as, most importantly, mentally, right? I feel like there is first-hand mental experience that you can appreciate. So let's say in this session that I had here, I did 50 reps of Bulgarian split squats, right? Now that is ridiculously taxing, not only physically, but especially on how well you're able to go beyond your threshold, right? How willing are you to hit those 50 reps despite the lactic acid buildup and the pain you feel, right? So that is first-hand experience on you overcoming your mental capacity, right? Now there's a second degree, right? Here is where you start to appreciate the willingness, or I guess how much of the sport as a whole requires mental attention, right? You know, when that's where I think coaches come into play, right? So a very strong, like evidential thing would be like fighting, just like fighting sports, right? They require, well, there's a lot of mental game to fighting, right? So you can get into the head of your opponent, you know, you can like distract them. You understand that if you make them aggressive, they lose their ability to professionally handle themselves in order to, like, you know, beat the other opponent, right? And I feel like if you have a mentor that's able to dedicate you such that you're able to not just see the sport as like a passion or like just like a discipline, right? If you see it as like a whole new skill, that's when you're able to like pursue and go beyond what other people can, right? Now, I'm not just saying that, oh, this mental idea is super, super important and like this is the only thing that's able to differentiate normal guys from athletes. Well, obviously, there's a ridiculous demand for physical, like genetic superiority, right? You need to be genetically built to become like the best of the best in this world, right? And but what I'm trying to say here is that you, if you don't have any mental game, you can't do anything physical. But if you have no physical game and the full mental drive, I feel like you can do a certain exercise. It's only your body that's like limiting you, right? And I think that's far more like, that's something I feel like I can appreciate a lot more than someone that's physically built. Because I feel like the physical built, like building yourself physically, is very heavily influenced by genetics. And it, although yes, it requires a lot of hard work, I feel like to build yourself mentally, that is an invaluable skill that's built upon many years of experience, or just if you're ridiculously smart and you're able to like acknowledge all your flaws and you're like a perfect person, which is highly unlikely, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I did 50 repetitions of the monster we call Bulgarian split squats, right? And my brain was telling me to stop every single rep I did. Like, I tried to group it into 5 reps whenever I was resting so that I could just like keep pushing myself forward, right? But there were times when I was like, man, it would feel so much better if I just took my leg off the bench and I stopped squatting. Like, the pain and just like, I don't know, in the heat of the moment, like you just don't want to keep doing those squats. But like after you finish, it's ridiculously rewarding, right? But to overcome that, you need to push yourself, right? And like, like there's a lot of cliche sayings like, oh, when you reach your limit, you've only used up 40% of your capacity, right? That 60% is the threshold that's limited by what your brain is doing, right? And yes, I do think that's true, but I feel like, especially with lifting weights, that's not a common occurrence, right? I feel like the law of, well, I guess what makes lifting so attractive is, yes, you require a lot of dedication, but you can, I guess you can progress like ridiculously fast in weights in comparison to like a sport like track and field where you have to sprint, right? Sprinting requires way more of a physical demand in terms of like your aerobic system, right? And it's such a mental toll. Like it taxes you so hard. Like if you've ever done 200 meters, 10 sets of 200 meters, like resting only a minute each run, you will understand how much of a like drag sprinting is, right? And long distance running in general, right? It's because the duration of the sport is just extended so long. And if you compare that to like lifting weights, it's as if there is this threshold, like you're able to like lift weights and you recognize, oh, I'm getting tired, right? I need to push myself. But it's only when you do those high repetitions, when you start to like engage more of the aerobic factor, that's when it gets significantly more difficult in terms of the mental game, right? And I would say that like running or swimming, that those are the kind of sports that really test the mental like facility of an athlete, right? So I guess in order to reconcile these two types of sports, right? I've been able to, I guess, think of the experiences of my like very high repetition squats and kind of use that as like a basis of comparing it to like sprinting, right? Any day of the week, I would always choose squatting over sprinting because sprinting is just ridiculously hard. It's ridiculously taxing, and I feel like it's just so underappreciated compared to like lifting and stuff. And I feel like in that element of that mental game, I've kind of lost touch with over time. So hopefully this is something that I can build later on. And yeah, that's basically it. I'll see you guys next time.